Hey everyone, this is No Set Path. I'm Drew English. Welcome back to the show. This week, we're featuring Jason and Adam Koontz of Born Rival. They're brothers who turned their love of action sports filmmaking into a career. And over the last 10 years, they've refined their aesthetic through travel and collaboration. Jason is director of photography, and Adam is a specialty camera operator and heavy lift drone pilot. When they're not on set, they run their apparel brand, Born Rival, which celebrates film culture and the use of visual media as a form of expression, though they're convinced you'll be inspired no matter what your creative pursuit. They also produce original films and editorial spotlights featuring image makers and storytellers from across the industry, and they hope to shed light and perspective on the creative process. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see them wearing one of their caps and one of their graphic tees. This stuff is super high quality. I really like it a lot. Thank you so much to the guys for hooking me up with this stuff. And that leads me into my announcement, which is Born Rival is officially going to be the first sponsor of No Set Path, which is super exciting. Please stick around to the end of the episode to get a little perk from them. As always, no matter where you're listening to this, please give us a 5-star review to help get us into the ears of new listeners. And if you're watching this on YouTube, a thumbs up or a subscribe really helps out the channel. Now, without any further delay, here's my interview with the Koontz brothers of Born Rival. I'm excited to talk to you guys because you have an interesting kind of setup where you're both professionals in the filmmaking industry and you do some work kind of as solo creators, and you also come together and work together a lot of the times. Also, that you're brothers is interesting. It's an interesting dynamic for those of us who have siblings. Are you guys twins, actually?
No, we're
3 years
how far apart. 3 years.
3 years apart. Who's older?
Jason is.
Yeah, so it's interesting, the sibling dynamic. So I have siblings who are younger than I am, who are twins. So it's like cool to see you guys come together as brothers and, you know, with similar interests.
Yeah, it's definitely something that like a lot of people go, I don't know how you did that or how you do that or how you guys are so close. And we look at it like, how could it be any other way? It's always been that way from growing up to present day working together. It's always been the two of us. So,
which is really, really cool. I always appreciate that kind of dynamic. That's a good spot to actually talk about how you guys got into filmmaking or just like a creative process in general. I know you have a lot of interests that are visual, not only on the film side, but also on like the photography side. But like, how did you guys find your creative spark? And did that happen together? The fact that you were grown up in the same household as brothers, did you guys kind of like feed off each other in like fostering creativity growing up, or did somebody just have an epiphany one day and then bring the other one in? I'm so curious.
Well, I think I'll just start off and then Jason, you can pick up that we grew up with our parents enabling us to be creative. Our mom, especially, she was into film photography. She did pottery. Our dad is a carpenter, woodworker. So they've always pushed us to be creative and has kind of led us down that path. And then just getting into the action sports world of snowboarding, BMX, skateboarding, surfing, just having a camera in our hands, filming each other doing that in the backyard, going on trips. That kind of just led into the filmmaking world. And then I'll definitely give Jason a lot of the credit. He was spearheading more of the direction of it and looking into cameras. Which DV tape camera do we need? You know, our mom's camera isn't cutting it anymore. And it just kind of spiraled into that. And then Jason really in college like took off and really pursued it more as a career versus us as kids doing it just with our parents in our backyard.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm a couple years older than Adam. So, you know, once I graduated, I was, you know, starting to work in the industry, just freelancing, and an opportunity popped up with a job. I think it was in Brazil and Spain, an opportunity to go. We kind of just needed an extra hand, and I was able to wrangle Adam onto the job. He had to miss a couple classes, but I think that was maybe the first, opportunity for him to be on set or be on a job, and maybe the allure of some of the cool experiences you could have in the business was enticing for him. And so then after he kind of graduated, it was kind of like, well, let's just keep doing this. And so we work closely, or we work together on a lot of jobs. Not always. We do our separate things, but starting out, and even today, we were on a lot of jobs together. Definitely some growing pains when you do work with your sibling, when it's you talk to them in a little different tone. You have certain expectations for them that you might not have on another crew member. The first couple of years, we kind of butted heads a lot, but I think now we're at a place where we're kind of past that, and in a really great place where we can read each other's minds and be on the same page in a lot of different scenarios.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about the dynamic, and you kind of said it where you can like read each other's minds, and it has to be a really interesting thing to be in like a professional working scenario where you have a lifetime of shorthand with the other person. So it's like there's a lot of stuff I would assume that can just like go unsaid. There's a lot of unspoken communication that happens, and I'm sure that works to your advantage in a lot of ways.
For sure. Yeah, I think. And Jason went to school for filmmaking. I did not. So I learned on set, which I think benefited me because I was always curious and would just do any job that I could do. But with the communication, is like Jason knows things that maybe I hadn't learned yet, and he's like, "Well, why aren't you doing this?" It's like, "Well, I didn't know that was an unwritten rule." And then that slowly progressed into actually knowing what he wanted. And he would stop sometimes and be like, "Why haven't you done this yet?" It's like, "Well, you didn't actually say anything." He's like, "Oh, well, do it now." It's like, "Okay, great." So that's branched into now just more being intuitive. And now we have that connection where I think we can get a lot done and not a lot is said.
Cool. Jason, why film school? Like, why was that the direction you wanted to go? I mean, it's two totally different things. Where I'm a lot like Adam in the sense that like I never knew I was going to be into filmmaking until later in life. So I'm totally self-taught or learning on the job. What was it about filmmaking that was inspiring to you to like want to go all in on an education in it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it's always hard to look back on it, but I think I've always just been super interested in the moving image and being behind the lens. And I think, I mean, the early snowboarding films. There was a trilogy of snowboard films by this company called Robot Food, and they were pretty formative to my interest in filmmaking and what they were doing. It was just really creative, so I think being young at that point, just like I want to try to replicate what they were doing and get a camera in my hand and film some stuff and figure out how to edit it and work with the music. And it's just one thing always led to the next. Like, all right, now we can I've saved a couple bucks. Let's get a new camera. There's new editing software out. Let's try this angle. So I think it was always just a curiosity, and I think just something I was always interested in and driven to say, hey, this is what I want to do. And like Adam said, we did have parents who were supportive to say, hey, yeah, go do that. As much as they might have had creativity as their being, that their jobs weren't necessarily something where you were like a freelance DP. So it was a bit of a stepping into the unknown for them, but they gave me their full support, which I think is everything. I mean, I think anything you do in life, you need to have a support partner or a community. And it's amazing to look back and look at maybe some other classmates or other friends who maybe just didn't have that same support. And I think they could be even more talented than me, but I think if you don't have that kind of support, I think you can, run short or fall short sometimes of your overall capabilities and potential. So just having that space and that room to continue to explore this interest that I had in filmmaking was kind of all I needed to, then all of a sudden open up this new world. And then once that was opened up, it was like, okay, yeah, now I really see this as an opportunity to make a career out of it.
Just having the curiosity at the forefront and being in a position where, that creativity was fostered growing up by your folks. I guess another way to say it is like being okay with just being curious at the time and then deciding, okay, this is what I want to go to school for, and being comfortable with the fact that it is an exploration and that maybe you're not going to ultimately wind up doing that for the rest of your life. I mean, so far, so good, right? But I think about myself. I went to recording school. I knew I wanted to go to music school, but I knew I didn't want to teach, like become an educator. So I found recording, and obviously that's doing a lot of good for me now, like bachelor's in music, but I didn't have that curiosity or comfortability. It was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then had some rude awakening moments throughout the years. But to your point, it's cool to have the curiosity and foster that, going into school. And then, so Adam, what were you doing before you found filmmaking via your brother?
I liked photography, I think, a little bit more than the filmmaking side of things growing up.
Yeah.
Still loved shooting moving images, but maybe not on the level Jason did. Then I went to school for business, entrepreneurial studies, got a business degree. And then, Jason said that one project popped up, and it was like, I can go to Brazil and Spain. I'll do whatever you need me to do. And that kind of just had a trickling effect, got on different projects. It was just PAing or assisting, ACing at the time, which is not ACing in the formal definition of, or what I would expect from an AC if I were to hire one today. But, just kind of made it up and faked it till I made it. And not saying I made it by any means, but just kind of worked my way in. And then once the drone stuff popped up, there was a couple projects Jason was doing in Canada, and they were struggling to find audio guys that could record solid audio. So I had everything in my B&H cart, mixers, microphones, lavs, everything. Like, I was going to become a sound guy because I just wanted to work. It didn't really matter what I was doing. I just wanted to be on set. And a day before I purchased everything, the job got canceled. And it gave me a chance to rethink it. And I give Jason a lot of credit. He's like, once you buy all that stuff, you're kind of locked into being an audio guy. You're going to be a sound guy. I think maybe I'm projecting here, but I think you want to be more in the camera department. I think that's where your passion is. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. But how do I get there? And he said, why don't you take a look at the drone space? It's so new. And there's it's the Wild West. There's no laws. It could go any which way in any direction, but really take a look at it. And I think by the end of the week, I had a Cinestar, 8 free fly package in my, with the Movi, the first Movi with the belts and the pulleys at my doorstep. And I was soldering in my garage and building out the first Cinestar kit. So it was a quick turnaround, but I'm so happy it went that way, because now I'm, shooting, not being a sound guy, way more creative in my eyes. I think a lot of sound guys are more into music and have that background, which I have a lot of respect for, but I don't have that passion for recording audio. And now that the drone stuff's taken me on crazy jobs, big movies, you name it. And, very thankful to have connected with Tim Sessler. He's really been a guiding force in that space. And between Jason and Tim, I've made a career out of it. So
full disclosure for people listening is I know you, Adam, a little bit better than I know your brother, having just met you, Jason, on this call. But, I know of you, Adam, through your drone work, because we're both good buddies with Tim. So it's really cool to hear that inroad to how you got into, the drone aspect of things, and having seen your work and knowing the caliber of projects you're working on. I mean, that's really quite the come up in terms of a career direction in film. And to tie it back in with kind of like the family dynamic, good on you, Jason, for providing that mentorship, having your brother ask the right questions, and really gain some perspective, because I think ultimately it's worked out for both of you for sure. But that's really cool. It
was definitely, not to cut you off, but it was definitely one of those things where I know how to shoot. I've been on projects when I was PAing that, they all of a sudden needed a second camera guy, or they need another angle, and they're like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And it felt like they were taking a risk, and they would email me a couple of days after the project, like, dude, you like, your framing is like awesome. Like, you know what you're doing. It's like, yeah, I absolutely do. Just because I don't have a reel, it didn't mean I didn't know how to frame or expose or, get the images what I figured everyone was looking for. But even with that, knowledge and the interest in it, I really think I got into the filmmaking space was just to work with my brother. We grew up doing everything together. It seemed odd if I didn't. And we kind of laugh about it all the time. We'll be on travel gigs, and we'll be, in some random small town eating at a diner and we're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we're on this job together, because it'd be pretty lonely if we didn't know each other. Or, it's great meeting people. The industry is awesome. You get to meet new people, collaborate with new people, but there's a certain bond if you're away from home for extended periods of time where that trusted, relationship goes a long way. And I think that's kind of the core of it all. Was I kind of got into it just because I wanted to follow him.
I'm definitely inspired by that connection and like that kind of bond you carry with you, and not just family but also the creative space. So you each have your own individual careers. Jason, you're more on like the traditional cinematographer side, and now Adam, you've moved into like this hybrid space where you're doing like a lot of drone piloting and operating, things like that.
Yeah, well, a lot of Movi stuff. The Movi really like made a career for me.
To bring it full circle, because of friends like Tim, who kind of trained me up and got me working in stabilized camera systems. That was my foot in the door to get on set and like learn on the job, right? So that's cool in and of itself. And it's great that you guys can have kind of your own separate paths and your own separate jobs, but you do a lot of work together, which is great. What kind of jobs have you guys been on in the last couple of years that really stand out as something like, oh man, I'm so glad my brother was here for that?
I mean, we've done some pretty brutal jobs over the years. We don't even want to tell anyone about, let alone put on a reel or anything. I mean, the cool part about freelancing and having a less defined path, I guess, as a DP, is that sometimes you're taking random jobs, and sometimes that's for the better, and sometimes that's for the worse. And I think there's times where you do a job. A couple years ago, we were on this crab boat off the coast of Maryland, and with these guys, and it was just like so random and not what we wanted to be doing. And it was cold and it was wet, and it was a long day, and we only took the job just to make a paycheck. But at the end of that day, it was like pretty neat to be able to have had that experience on a boat and meet these local fishermen, and then at the end of the day be able to go grab a beer and a bite with my brother. It's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool life experience, and I think that's what this business can afford you, is just so many varied experiences, interactions with people you would have never otherwise spoken with, and stories you're able to dive into. And I think it really helps shape you as a human, and take learn a lot of lessons just that you can take with you and help shape you who you are. But I think the opportunities, and it's neat. It's a cool way to experience life.
Well, I think it's worth noting, and obviously it pertains to filmmaking, and I'm sure like working as a professional photographer as well, but I think it goes kind of across borders for creative professionals, is that everybody has those jobs that are terrible. There's always terrible jobs that you do for a paycheck, because everybody's got to eat and pay their rent, and you're not going to put it on your website and say, hey, look at this insanely out of focus shot. But I think it levels the playing field for people listening. If there's any kind of doubt in anybody's mind that, yeah, there are always terrible. In fact, I will say there's probably more not so great jobs than there are amazing jobs. For every one amazing job I've had a million like, oh, I don't really want to be doing this, but I need the money. I could use the paycheck, that kind of thing. At least for me, I have to remind myself, like, I had a desk job right out of college. Like, I had a cubicle, that whole thing. I have no interest in going back there. So it's like, I get paid to point cameras at things. There's a worse way to make a living. So, yeah, I think that's pretty equalizing when I can kind of remind myself of that. But yeah, there's always atrocious jobs, or
you need to
jobs
remind
that aren't
yourself,
creatively, whatever.
You need to remind yourself of that. And I think it's so easy to get jaded in this business because there's other people doing better work and more creative jobs. And it's like, you really need to take a step back and look at what the majority of the population is doing. And I mean, you might have a desk job, you might, be collecting garbage, you might be in a hospital, you might be, and not to say that those people might not enjoy their jobs, but there's grueling work that people do day in and day out. And it's like, hey, if I got to go do a job for a couple days, it's not even a full week's worth, and we can make a lot of money in a short amount of time. And it sounds ridiculous as I'm saying it, but when the job comes in, you roll your eyes and you hem and you haw about how you don't want to do this job to go make a paycheck. It's like, well, you're really darn fortunate because the rest of your week or the whole following week, you have off.
Yeah.
And you can go do whatever the heck you want to do. I personally struggle with it. You need those constant reminders. And I think conversations with people, I mean, this podcast is great. It's therapeutic. I mean, grabbing coffee with people is a way to just, humble yourself, remind you that we're all in this together. But I think just looking at your phone or, just talking to yourself doesn't necessarily do the trick. I think it's, surrounding yourself with people who are not even on a similar path, just be able to vent and be able to, share stories. I don't know, has gone a long way for me. And anytime I grab coffee with someone, whether it leads to a job or not, it's just like, wow, I feel so much better. My rest of my afternoon is like that much more focused, and just I feel better about myself because of that conversation.
See, this is why I like this format, right? Why I like doing an unstructured kind of conversational podcast is because this is the kind of stuff that comes up, right? And at some point, invariably, we get into like some more nitty gritty that's less tangible. I'll use myself as an example. I'm the worst offender of playing the comparison game. It's awful. Like I have to force myself out of scenarios where I will be comparing myself to either friends or just colleagues, people I don't even know, what kind of successes they're having or seems they're having. Because at the end of the day, I think you're your own worst enemy. And most professions, whether they're creative or otherwise, exist in some sort of bubble, right? So just as you were saying, oh yeah, the job comes in, you roll your eyes because it's going to be a grind and not really that rewarding and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's true for the bubble in which you exist. But then when you are able to take a step back and like get outside of that bubble, you go, oh yeah, actually life ain't so bad. For all the reasons we've already talked about. So this is why I really dig this, is because stuff like this comes up, and then the audience, the people listening or watching, hopefully somebody, even if it's one person, has that moment of like, oh yeah, everybody goes through that same thing that I'm going through, these guys are experiencing too. So, I think that's kind of at the crux of why I really enjoy this as a side note. I do want to get to talking about Born Rival, if you guys are down to move on to that.
Yeah, I think it's a good time. I got a segue for you, because I think what we just talked about there, kind of was one of the reasons that helped start the brand. I mean, I think, again, me speaking personally, it's like my DP career wasn't where I wanted to be. I'd done a handful of spec commercials and, tried to get it in front of the right directors, and just things never clicked. Like I wanted to be repped by an agency and do these commercial jobs that I see other people doing. And I was knocking on those doors and they just didn't open for me. And maybe maybe I didn't try hard enough. Maybe I didn't have the talent. Maybe it just wasn't in the cards, or maybe it's, still to come for me. But I think more so over the past, 5 years, 6 years, I was really, really being hard on myself, because I'm like, I'm not enjoying this work anymore. I'm like talking about hemming and hawing about the job, but I'm like, this is every job. Like, I hate this. I might as well be doing that other job that I think is horrible, because this is brutal for me. And I think it got to a point where it was like, yeah, a big step back. And it was like, well, I still, the opportunities that, having a camera in our hand has afforded us is pretty awesome. And okay, if I'm not able to produce the work on a creative level that I want to, is it still such a bad thing to be able to have these life experiences doing what I do and still keep pushing and try to make the work that I want to make? But all along the way, it's like, it's not such a bad thing to be doing what we're doing and making a great living, and again, being able to have such a variety of experiences. So Adam and I, being so close that we have a lot of shared experiences, and it might have been on set. But it might have been at the brewery afterwards. It might have been in this one cool town or this one cool spot in Columbus, Ohio, that we saw something. So that was like, hey, this is kind of neat. We've always had aspirations, to open up our own shop or our own, brewery or something like that. So I think we just started riffing on like what else we could do within the film space that would keep that passion alive for being behind the camera, but maybe just do a little something else on the side that can help complement what we're doing. Take the past 10, 15 years of experiences and conversations and wrap that up into what we want to put out into the world. And I think, we're like, hey, let's make a brand for filmmakers or photographers that people can connect with and help inspire people to appreciate just the medium, appreciate the act of taking a photo or making a film, less so the finished product, right? It's like the process. We always talk so much about the process. It's like, let's actually enjoy this. And if we can make a hat, if we can make a shirt and allow people to put those products on and maybe feel a little more inspired or maybe a little more connected to a community with that type of mindset, I think that would be a pretty cool thing. So I think that's some of the impetus for starting Born Rival.
I didn't even know that for a while, for some reason, that Born Rival was you guys. It's like I knew about the brand because I had seen like other cinematographers and filmmakers posting about it, and it came up in my Instagram feed. And I knew you guys existed, but I didn't know that it was the same thing. So that was a fun realization to have.
Cool.
Yeah. But so what I really dig about the brand is kind of like, and it's amplified by what you just said, is like the ethos behind it really seems to be this holistic space for creatives, mostly filmmakers and photographers, but anybody who kind of leans into like the visual side of things. It's hard for me to really pin down what it is. And I mean that very positively. So on the surface, it seems like, oh, we're an apparel brand. We have t-shirts, we have hats, beanies, whatever. I really dig the designs. They're unique and different. I think there's a lot of great stuff happening there. But when you dig a level deeper, you're building out this whole, I guess, infrastructure is the word that comes to mind. I don't know if it's the right word. You're kind of like, you're doing features on filmmakers and photographers. You're going out and shooting passion work and creating content that centers around the analog process, right? Analog cinematography, analog photography, like really leaning into that. You're kind of building like a culture around the brand, which is really cool. And because I have a hard time defining exactly what it is, it makes me more engaged because I want to see what like the next thing coming is going to be. It's not just, oh, here's where I go to see if there's a cool new hat I want to buy. It's building the content that you want to see and then having the stuff that someone can own and take away and like carry that message with them, which is really cool as a self-taught filmmaker and someone who's kind of teaching themselves the business side of things too. This is where I get really geeked up, is like when things start to like happen holistically. I'll toss it to Adam, who went to school for business, which is the only reason I'm tossing it to you. But it's like, what did it look like at the beginning, getting Born Rival off the ground? You had the idea, but how'd you get it off the ground?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely multi-layered of the purpose, and I think it even took a lot of convincing of ourselves of what we were doing, because you're not the first person to say like, well, what is this? And it was like, we don't really know yet. And I think it's benefited us because we can't just say, oh, this other brand, oh, we're just another version of that, right? It's because it does feel new, it does feel different. It's like there is no definition. So we're kind of creating that as we go. But yeah, I think the framework around it was, we've always had that passion for, creating a brand. We just didn't know what that brand meant. And that brand could be, breweries now have brands. It's a culture. There's a community built around. There's people who are really engaged. So we always had that drive to create something. We always kind of we went all over the map. And then it was like, why toss out, like Jason said, the 10 to 15 years of experience in the filmmaking space out the window? Like stay where we're at. Well, we've been, whether the work lines up, whether the experiences don't line up, it's still experience. We've still been in the industry. We've still seen things, and let's use that to our advantage. And so where the layers start coming in is that, one, we want to build community. We want people to be excited about, and we're not trying to make this about us. And I think that's probably why you didn't see us directly connected to it. I'll admit that we're in a lot of the product photos, and all on the Instagram is us too. So we're definitely bootstrapping in that regard, but we're not putting ourselves out there, oh, we're doing this like for Adam or for Jason. We're doing it because there really is a lifestyle around living life through a lens. Once you start taking photos, whether you're an enthusiast or a professional, same with filmmaking, you start to just notice things differently. You get to talk to people. If you're taking portraits, you want to travel. There's so many people say, oh, I want to travel to this place in the world just to take landscape photography. Like, it's definitely a driving factor in today's world. So how do we bring community into that? Yeah, I think we do want to be an apparel brand. And we view ourselves very much as apparel first. We're looking at making everything in the United States, really high quality, consciously done, working with the right people, and then intertwining New York and LA, where we could branch out from that. But like the filmmaking and photography space it's in those two cities. That's where the heartbeat of the industry is. So like, why not make our clothes there? And then this is where maybe more selfishly, the perspective comes into, like, because we were not creating commercials for X and Y brand, it's like, why don't we shoot commercials for our own brand? And that way we have full total creative control. We can do what we want. We can make it look the way we want. We can shoot it on film. Oh, great. That's an excuse to go buy an SR3. And that's just kind of the way it's folded into. Now we have a Bolex. We shoot all our product photos on 35 millimeter stills. And it's just that way to just keep the creative aspect of the filmmaking alive. We're not just trying to shift gears and sell stuff. It's really, we're selling stuff so we can continue to create our own content. And and then the profiles, like you said, we're doing profiles on directors, DPs, photographers. We're doing a lab report series that we're focusing on the film developing labs, because that's such an integral part of the tangible side of filmmaking. And I think when you encompass all that, it's like, are you an apparel company? Are you a media company? Are you a production company? It's like, we're kind of all of that, but we're kind of, I don't know, figuring it out as we go.
Well, so I think when somebody asks you, are you an apparel company, media company, a brand, the answer is just yes.
Yes. I will say, a lot of people say, oh, I like your merch. And this might be our disclaimer. It's like, it's not merch. Like, it's an apparel line. It's a collection where, we're bare bones starting off, but we have aspirations to do cut and sew and really make quality products that, I don't know, you look at when you're on set, it's like, you're really wearing that brand? Like, there's got to be a brand out there that speaks to what we do. And at the end of the day, we didn't find one. It's a lot of tech-driven bags or cables or software for cameras, and like that stuff's great. But like, I don't know, I'm not going to wear a lot of that stuff to the bar or on a date, or it's not going to work. So
here's what I'm hearing, right? As I start to like filter through all this stuff, I really see this as like, you guys are trying to build the life you want, and you're doing it through Born Rival, because and you can come at it from any angle, right? You feel maybe creatively stifled. That's one side of things. On another side, you have always wanting to start some sort of venture together. And yeah, like, why start all over completely from square one when you have all this background in filmmaking and photography? And like, how can you turn that into something that feeds the bigger picture, which is create the life you want, or create the environment that you want to exist in? You're leaning into the analog photography aspects for all the product photos. You're shooting all your content on film. I think in this case, which is not always true when you're talking business or brands or whatever, not having like a fully locked down elevator pitch identity, other than the fact that you're an apparel brand that ties in with the film and photography industries, I think really works to your advantage, because you're building the story as you go. You haven't like fabricated the story ahead of time and then are trying to work into this preset set of rules for yourself. You're building the story as you go, which totally makes sense considering that we're in a storytelling business and those stories can always evolve and change. But I love the intentionality behind it. The fact that you're trying to move a lot of the product manufacturing stateside is super awesome. Who does the designs, by the way? Is one of you guys the designer, or like how does that happen?
It's definitely both of us, but as far as like the designs for like the graphic tees, we've connected with smaller freelancers as well. I can't draw for the life of me. Like
yeah, I can't either.
Do not like no. So Jason would probably say the same thing. We're trying to learn more of the software so we could do some of that stuff in house. But I think between whether we're collaborating with a graphic artist or graphic designer, or we're trying to do a feature on a film lab, or we're interviewing a DP or a director, it's just another reason to be able to reach out and to connect with people and build just that relationship and like make that story that you're talking about deeper. Because at the end of the day, just Jason and I, it could be a great project. Same thing when we're on set. We do great work together, but hey, if you could bring in that extra director or bring in 3 guys, to help with lighting, it's just going to make it that much better. And it's the same thing with the apparel side. It's like, I could maybe put something together in Photoshop and Illustrator or InDesign, whatever. I don't even know the programs, but it's going to be far better if we go to a guy or a girl who just can nail what our vision is.
Yeah, but it's also on the business side of things, it's creative direction, it's collaboration, it's the kind of environment that we as filmmakers are used to working in, and you're just fostering that in a different way. So I think all that's great. I think you've connected with the right people, and you're giving good direction, because I dig the designs and kind of the aesthetic. I've seen some Born Rival apparel out in the wild. I've seen it floating around. What are some things you would like to see happen with Born Rival as an entity?
Well, I think, Drew, you just backtrack a little bit of like multidisciplinary aspect to this, of what we're doing. And I think it does feel like a benefit now. I think, a couple years ago, starting out, it was difficult to get the ball rolling, because it was hard to tell not only other people what we were doing, it was hard to talk to one another. Like, what is this? Just to have something to say, hey, okay, this is this little nugget. We're going to move forward with this nugget. So I think starting out, we were a little just disoriented. We had a lot of ideas. So I think we're in a much better place now, where it is still loose and we're still are figuring it out, but we've got a baseline and the ball is rolling. We've got some momentum. So now it feels great. It's like, we're more than this. And what you said just before, which was awesome of you to say, is it adds some another layer of intrigue, right? You're just kind of, once you get into it, you realize there's more and more to explore, and hopefully that pulls people in deeper. So we feel like we're in a great spot now, is because we do some editorial work. Our product, we're figuring out how to manufacture stuff. If anything, being a filmmaker teaches you, it's just how to be resourceful and how to just not take no for an answer. It's like these things that you got to take a step back and realize some people aren't put in the situations that we are, doing an indie film or doing a low budget commercial where you got to beg, borrow, and steal, shots and barter equipment and make a budget work and timelines and it's like second nature when you think like that. So anyway, having that experience and just shifting out how now figuring out how to make clothes, it's like, okay, well, we can figure this out. We're resourceful enough to make that happen. So yeah, now it's cool but we don't want to take a step too far out that we're not filmmakers anymore. We're not taking photos, because I think that is where our passion still lies. And I think I want to be clear that it's not all about us. Like, we want to help other people make their films or bring their voice to the table. And if we can just help support that, and if we can just, be a part of, just have our hand in the conversation, I think that's great. We're just, really helping to celebrate the culture. We just, Sage Bennett is a director that we just connected with recently, and kind of reached out to feature her in a Between Takes series on the website, just a little Q&A. And then through that conversation, we got talking, and we kind of had a similar idea for this commercial. And I was like, hey, well, we're actually thinking about doing something like that for, a little spot we want to make for our new hats that were made in New York City. We want to make this little spot. And so she hopped on board and directed the piece. Which was
Awesome.
was really neat, and it was just going to be Adam and I, but then all of a sudden it turned into this little indie shoot, which is really cool, and that's going to be released soon. So it's just neat, and like I said, so we're just trying to foster the community, and so where are we going to go from here? I mean, yeah, Adam, you can chime in. We've got a lot of ideas of where we can possibly take this, but I think having the apparel at the core of it will allow us to, do some of the things we want to do from a financial standpoint. And that's not like us trying to put money in our pockets. That's like saying like, hey, how do we make this money so that we can invest it in a film or invest it into a screening? I mean, that's something Adam and I want to do a lot, is like, let's have events where people can be in the same room together. And, there's so much amazing, incredible work that's produced on a daily basis that comes through our feeds, and we just swipe past it. And I mean, this is a bigger conversation to be had, but if we as filmmakers aren't taking the time to stop and watch some of our colleagues' work, because I know I'm guilty of it. Very rarely
Everybody's
do I
guilty
watch
of it. Everybody's guilty of it.
Film, right? I swipe through probably a couple frame grabs, and then I comment. It's probably just an emoji. I can't even put words to what I want to say to this person who just spent, the past how many weeks pouring their blood, sweat, and tears in this project. And for what? A quick ego boost? And yes, that's the problem with social media. But we as filmmakers, if we can't appreciate the content that's being produced, then who else is good? The general public is not going to be able to do that. Yeah, I think we really need to take the reins and say, hey, this is our work. We're going to appreciate it. We're going to make a space for it, because the Vimeos of the world, or Netflixes, or, what have you, they want you to be online. And some communities like Vimeo, and they had their film festival, sure, but we really want to help nurture people getting together. So yeah, doing events and film screenings and paired with a gallery event is something that we want to try to do. And if we can have a little pop-up and have some of our apparel and have some beer there as well, I think that is some of the things that we're interested in doing.
I love that, man. I think the ambition is high in a good way. I think your hearts are in the right place. I really love the idea of building community and intentionally, like, making a point to leave ego out of it, which is, we live in such an ego-driven industry as it is, that it's like being very intentional and pragmatic about that. I think it just shows that your heart's in the right place. And also that you're not trying to make the brand your whole identity. You're just trying to say, oh, this is like a part of who we are and what we do. And it's not all of what we do. And I give you both a lot of credit, because I know what production schedules are like, and we get tied up on jobs. And it's quite an undertaking to be running a full-on brand on the side, plus, managing, going out on shoots, being on set, long days. I give you a lot of credit.
Well, and then just to tie kind of all of it together, I've never said it a lot, but like the benefit of working together on both projects is that while we're on lunch on a job, we can then talk about the brand, or, vice versa. It's like, we have a call we try to do one every morning or whatnot. And it's like, we're pinging all over the place. So family, the Born Rival, oh wait, what's the travel schedule for Friday? It's just like all over the place, but it's like it affords us the ability to do that, because if we had a different business partner for any one of those different spots, it'd make it a lot more complicated. I think just to piggyback on what Jason said, it's like, it's probably cliche at this point, whether you're talking about social media or the pandemic or, combining the two. I realize the in-person events are really where it's at for me. And whether that's because I don't have a film background, it's like, I'm not really tied to a position. I think maybe a little bit for the drone stuff, just because I feel like I might have been there before some of the other people in the industry. I never soldered in my life, and now I'm building a drone to fly our red. I don't know. I take a little pride in that, but
sure.
Just being able to be on set and not have a position, I think that also goes hand in hand to the types of films we want to make, where it's like, it could be a Born Rival production, or we can fund it or whatever. But it's like, if we get to work with talented, creative people, it's like, that's where it's at. And if it's elevating everybody's work and it enhances the experience, I don't know why else you're in this business, other than if you have a huge ego and you're just trying to make something for yourself, because it's such a collaborative process. So at the end of the day, if we can, screen somebody else's film, but then hopefully at some day we can support people financially and say, hey, go make your film. And we have your back and we believe in your vision, and not really be tied to it other than just like, hey, go do this. You deserve it. So we'll see if that happens, but that's something I think would be really special to the brand, and kind of separate us from whether it's a brand or production company, and just, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
different level of collaboration.
I mean, I think it's like the idea of surround yourself with people who are better than you at something. I think ties into this really well, where it's like, long term, it sounds like, because I've had similar ambitions myself, get yourself to a point where you can support other people or develop their projects and use the brand as a vehicle to do kind of whatever you want or whatever makes sense at the time, which I think is great. I think it's really cool. Good name, good aesthetic, good intention. You guys are killing it, in my opinion. I think this is probably a good spot to start wrapping things up. And we will have lengthy show notes because there's two of you, but where can folks find you online if they want to learn more about you, both together and separately?
I think you just go to bornrival.com, or it's born.rival on the Instagram. I think that's kind of where all our attention and energy is going these days. And through that channel, you can find us individually. But I think, our expression, our films, our creativity is really being pushed right through the brand.
Cool. No, that's great. I'll throw that in the show notes. I'll put your individual sites as well, just so people have all those resources. Guys, I love this. Thank you so much for coming on to do this with me.
No,
Thanks for having us,
Drew.
man.
And I think we can relate in a lot of ways of like, I don't know, no set path, right? We're at it. We're all in this together. We go through the struggles, and you never know which way it's going to take you. And we were just talking with a fellow creator the other day, and he was so stressed, and he was like looking at us, and we finally looked at him and like, dude, we don't have anything figured out. Like, I don't know why you're looking at us. Like we've got everything buttoned up. Like, we're in the same boat as you. Like, I don't know. We can all relate in that department. So thanks for doing this. And I think bringing light to things that are often not talked about or just pushed aside. And everything looks better on the internet. So when you can relate with somebody through the hardships, it really means a lot. So
thanks. It's a great way to wrap it up. I mean, it really is, nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's faking it. Even super successful people, they still fake it all the time. They just figure out their problems more efficiently. So it's all good. Well, thank you guys again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Sounds
man.
good. Cheers, man.
All right, that was Jason and Adam Koontz of Born Rival. Thank you again to those guys for being on the show, and for you listening at home, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll put links to their individual sites in the show notes for this, but like they mentioned during the show, just head to bornrival.com to check out their latest collaborations and films. Again, I'm super excited to bring these guys on board as the first sponsor of this show. I really dig their stuff, and I think you will too. So if you use the code NOSETPATH at checkout, you'll receive 20% off your first order from Born Rival. If you want to find out more about No Set Path, you can head to our website, nosetpath.com, or find us on Instagram at No Set Path Podcast. And if you want to learn more about me, your host, Drew English, you can head to drewenglish.com or find me on Instagram at Drew English with 2 H's at the end. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next week.